This meeting is being recorded by Zoom, so and we're also taking notes, so that'll be made available to everybody afterwards.
And this is Melody Curtis. I want to welcome you all to this informational meeting. We wanted to share with you, as our most important constituency, the information about the Transformation Task Force and the changes that are taking place in Sierra Leone around programming for the Child Rescue Center. And we wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to ask questions and for us to provide answers. And so the way we've set this up so we can try and fit it in the hour and a half we've allotted for it is that we are going to, we've received questions from individuals already. And we've put together a presentation that we think will answer those questions and may even create more questions in your mind. And then we will have an opportunity for you to ask those questions. And if we can't answer them immediately, we have a continuing process that will be able to provide answers to everyone. You are our most important constituency. You are our partnership representatives. You are our spiritual leadership. You are the individuals who are responsible for putting the message out into the community about HCW's programs. And so it is crucial that you have the tools to be able to do that. And we feel like that we want to make sure that we're doing the best job possible moving forward to give you those tools. And with that, I am going to turn that over to Mohammed for a prayer to guide our work today.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you so much for today. Thank you for creating us and giving us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and giving us the instinct to feel you the more. Thank you for connecting us via this technology, Zoom. You are such a wonderful God. Thank you for this Sunday. Father, you are wonderful. Thank you for connecting all these people all over the United States who are part of this session today. Father, let us remember that this is in honor of you. This is not about us. It's about others in a way that can honor you to advance your kingdom here on earth. So guide our conversations, guide our questions. Let this be peaceful argument, peaceful conversations, so that we all can go home with a sense of understanding that yes, we have served you in the best way possible. Help to guide us, our emotions, help to guide our behaviors, help to guide our thoughts, our words, throughout this meeting and even beyond. Thank you for all those putting this together, all the participants connected to this meeting. Thank you for giving us the children and families to protect and to care for back home in Africa. Continue to bless this gathering and bless the organization, all the partners connected in contributing to the betterment of those lives back home. Thank you, Lord, and take us through this session. Through your Son's name, Jesus Christ, we have prayed. Amen.
Amen. Laura.
Thank you. So I'm going to start and just briefly kind of give some context about why we're where we are at this moment in time. Most of us know that the developed world doesn't have orphanages and institutional homes the way that the developing world does. And the movement across and around the world is to transition residential children's homes, orphanages, and institutions toward family care. This is based on about 30 years of research that demonstrates that families provide the best environment for a child's development. I'm going to read a quote from the Faith to Action Initiative on strengthening families. The daily life and close relationships within a family lay the foundation for a child's social and emotional development, self-image, and sense of belonging. As children interact with members of their households and the wider community around them, they absorb the patterns and values of their culture, develop the language, customs, and skills they will need in their adult lives. There are many organizations all around the world currently that are working toward this goal, including organizations like Catholic Relief Services, UNICEF, and many others. The good news for us at HCW is that this is actually the realization of the direction we've been heading in since the Bishop's 2020 vision was announced 8 or 10 years ago. It's always been the goal to reunify children living in the residential facility within 2 years. That was actually written into the criteria. So now that the government and the world is moving to family care, it's as if the bishop, it is as if the world is catching up with the bishop. So it's a really exciting moment in the history of our organization, and I hope that after this presentation happens and we've had a chance to answer questions, that you'll be as excited as we are. Mohammed, can you share a little bit about the Sierra Leonean government's response to this worldwide movement?
Sure. Of course, this is something, it's a worldwide, it's not something, it's secret, it's not only based on one continent. This is what the world is striving towards. As Mother Teresa once said that, if we all as parents, if we all can take children as our own children, all children as our children, there will be no orphans and there will be no orphanages around the world. I mean, we all accept every child we see as our own child. So over the past years, the Ministry of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs, which is the government representative ministry, we have been attending series and series of organizational stakeholders meetings. Where in those meetings, we'll meet with other child protection agencies like the SOS, the St. Mary's, just around the country. They've always told us, together with the UNICEF, United Nations Children Emergency Fund, they say, look, we know we are trying to have residential homes like orphanages and things like that. The war is over. We can understand because the war came up and it was very difficult to trace children's families and relatives and place them back. And so orphanages really came into existence more after the war. People started really taking up to this. But now we have found out that this is Africa, and the children have extended family system. Even if you are not able to find the child's biological mother or biological mother, a father from the same womb, you have extended family like an aunt, an uncle, a niece, a brother, or an auntie. They are there and they are ready. They want social sense of belonging. So we are really encouraging all organizations to have a target date to make sure you move from residential care and orphanages and see how you can trace these children's families and try to reunify them, reintegrate them so that they can have time to be with their families and be able to connect with their community and know more about their family tree, their lineage, where are they coming from? Because they have said when children live in the orphanages, normally they come across so many caregivers, like the staff who work in that nation, the aunties, the missionaries who go there to see. So sometimes the children can lose track of really who their roots, where are they coming from? And some of these parents, they are ready to receive their children. Ready in other sense, they want to have their children, they want to make sure they belong, they have a family. But they do not have the means, they do not have the money to send their children to school, to feed them very well, to take care of them, to grow their spiritual aspect of it, and all things like that. So the Ministry of Social Welfare and the UNICEF are really saying that, you know what, orphanages, you really have to work out to phasing out and make sure you send these children back to their relatives and families. And if you have found them, then so that they can continue and you can continue to support them even when they are in their homes with more support. That's really what is important. Instead of you keeping them here and taking them away from their families. So poverty should not be the root cause why you are taking children away from their families. You should be able to stay them and also help to improve their lives, or also together help the family to grow as well. A kind of holistic approach, not only focusing on the child, but also help to wipe away the poverty status of the entire family. There, the child stays in the family, you send the child to school, whatever you are doing for the child, the family benefits as well, even not to a greater level. So it is very, very important that we all try to work it out. They've tried to set some deadlines, and other organizations are working towards deadlines because they have large number of children in the orphanages and things like that. They are trying to give them like longer deadlines, but they are really, really behind us to say, you know what, please, we want to see a plan so that you can really stop bringing in new children into the orphanages. We are not saying you cannot have child in the home, like an in-care home, for in case of emergency. They are saying that because you may have a child on the street, you may find a child on the street who are still trying to trace the child's family, but you should not bring the child and harbor that child into the orphanage for years. You bring the child in, you try to ask questions, you try to trace the child's family. Once the child's family, the background is found, please do all what you can to reunite the child and his or her family so that you can continue to support the child as an organization. It's so cool that you as an organization coming in to help the child to grow with lineage as so you taking him or her away totally from their biological parents, relatives in whichever way. Yes, it's the government and the UNICEF have had series of discussions, and they really want to make sure that the orphanage should only be the last resort or last option. There is nowhere about, no child's relatives ever living, nowhere to be traced. You search the entire country, nowhere to be found. Then you can still keep the child for a little while until you're able to find the child's relative, or you send the child into a foster parent, like a Christian parent who's ready to take care of the child, who undergoes training and things like that. So the government is in support of this motion, and they wanted to see that people are really working towards it to make it a reality.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kathleen, you wanted to speak to who is the CRC?
Hello. Thank you again, everyone, for taking time out of your Sabbath to join us. It's so nice to hear your voices and see your faces. Hello, everybody. And we really appreciate you being here. It just shows how much you care to spend this time with us, and I hope we can make it worth your while. I just want to address something that probably all of you know, but as you are our voices to the partner churches, we just realize that there's a persistent belief among a lot of our partners and supporters that the CRC equals the residential center, and that other programs like the child support and family care programs are sort of outreach or peripheral programs. The CRC has always been far more than the residential center, and we want to help everyone, all of our thousands of supporters, understand that the impact of the CRC is way bigger than 20 children living in an orphanage. The CRC is not 20 kids who live inside the facility. The CRC is nearly 600 extremely vulnerable children and youth who live in Bow, in Fenghan, in McKinney, Kanama, Kano, and Freetown. The CRC is 27 current Promise Scholars and all those who came before them who are forever linked through the CRC Alumni Association. With the CRC's new vision of transforming lives, strengthening families, developing leaders, and unlocking potential, the CRC also includes the families who benefit from having their children enrolled in CRC programs. These families have access to parent workshops, activities at the CRC facility, and the opportunity to participate in the microfinance program. So to reiterate, the CRC is not the residential program, and with the closing of the residential program, the CRC is not closing. The CRC has always been far more than the residential center. The enrollment has been steadily growing for years and is now providing critical support to more than 600 extremely poor children and youth, and they are all Child Rescue Center students. We recognize, again, to repeat what Nav said, the best way for children to grow up is with a family, whether it's a natural or adopted family. So we are working with our partners to do what's best for the community of Bow in addressing extreme poverty. For the children who are currently in the residential program, they will still be child rescue centers, but they will live with family in the community. So that's the CRC. So whenever you hear people say that the CRC is closing or any words to that effects, if you can please explain to them, anytime you hear that the CRC is more than 600 children and youth, and the residential program was always only one tiny portion of that. And can they see the graphic?
Yes. If they're online, they can see the graphic.
If you're online, you can see the graphic, which is a perfect illustration. If you see the tiny little sliver in green, that's the residential care program. It's the biggest portion of Child Rescue Center enrollment is the child support program, and then the family care program, and Promise Scholarship and the Promise Scholar waiting list. So that's a fantastic visual to help you understand what that looks like. So the impact of the child support program is huge. And I just want to say, just as an anecdote, this fall, Laura and I went with JJ to QRS, one of the big schools where a lot of our girls are. A lot of girls in family care and child support program are at a QRS school, Queen of the Rosary School. And we were trying to get some kind of a group photo taken. And one bossy little girl was saying, CRC, CRC, and calling all the girls over. And everybody understood that this means everybody enrolled in the CRC program. So dozens of girls were coming over to take part in this little impromptu meeting we were having. So they fully feel themselves to be CRC students. They understand that wholeheartedly. They are CRC students and they feel very much a part of what is happening.
All right. And back to Mohammed. Where is the CRC?
Right, thank you very much, Melody, for that question. And Kathleen just kind of tried to mention that the CRC is not only the residential home, because it's okay. It kind of logical. It's common people to understand when they say charity center, because we had mission teams over there, and they kind of sometimes have only been meeting with children living in the facility. So like 40, the highest number of children we have ever had living in the residence has always has not exceeded 70 or something like that. That's a bit high. That was the time when really we are kind of recruiting that many children, trying to trace our families and things like that. But the child rescue, the residential part program is just one program of 4 programs, part of the child rescue center as a whole. So the CRC is not just the residential, it's a network of children across the country. These children are living, a majority of them are living in Bo, which is the second capital city of Sierra Leone. They are living in Bo, and then with the surrounding villages, and now expanding into few other towns where we have some other kids as well who have been transferred to live with their relatives and their parents. So all the years we've had the Child Rescue Center, we've always had the vast majority of the children living in the communities with their relatives, as we've ever had living in the residence. So as I said, so when I grew up at the Child Rescue Center, we are 40 in number. We started the program, so that was the highest. And but even when we are 40, we are still having 100 children living outside. So there are 140 children. Program started. So we are 40 of us only living inside the compound, and then we are having other 100 children kind of living outside. We are also the CSP when we are trying to start the child support program. We realize that if we want to transform lives, we want to strengthen the families, you can only transform the child's life, and that's it. The family is there, because initially the children, if we're having like a family having like 4 children, the CRC was only able to take care of like 1 child in the family, and then the other 3 children are there on school. They're not going to school, and they're not having the basic things the other child is having. So sometimes when this child comes back to this family, it's like not really to that level. So now with the new approach of moving away from the residential home and taking back this child and try to help the entire family with other children in the family, I think it is great. So it is really good for us to know that it is not just the residential home that the CRC is about. From the graph, you can see that majority of the children are living there. We have had prominent people who have graduated from college who have never lived inside the home. We have other staff members who are now walking back home. Imona Bokari, who's working in the child support program, who's a community worker who visits schools and pays school fees and things like that. Henry Kebi, these are all people who have lived outside the CRC resident. They are in the child support program. Now the current doctor, Dr. Yusuf Tijan, who graduated with a very good result. And now other hospitals are fighting for him to come and serve. He never lived inside the resident program. He was also part of those children who are living inside the community. But we are seeing the CRC children. But just the name, when it's a child rescue center, maybe the center could be confused sometimes. People can say, oh, the center, that means all the 600 children are living inside that center. No, they are not. We only have 20, 30, 40, and sometimes 70 will be the highest for them to live. But we are still trying to trace their families and bring them back to their families, see the joy and happiness in the faces whenever they are getting ready to go back and reunite with their friends, their communities, and their families. So the CRC is not just about the residential home, where team members go and play with the kids, a small number of kids living in the home. But we have vast majority of the children living inside the communities that we don't normally get to see them as missionaries when we go there sometimes. So with this new approach, trying to change that, you go back to Sierra Leone. Your plan is you go and see these children in the community and see the community, visit their homes, visit the families, see other lives around the community, not even only children in our own program, but see other children that are not even our program as we work about the community instead of just living inside the closed walls of CRC, from NTC to CRC, from CRC to Mercy, just between that closed walls. You go out and see something like that. So this will be a great opportunity to serve the world with better skills, just in a closed or confined environment. I think I may stop there.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you. We know you're very, very passionate about this. And Laura, I don't know if there's anything you could add to that about what the CRC does.
I'll try, but it's a tough act to follow. Thanks, Mohammed. I'm going to cover territory that I think most of us are well traveled on, but just sometimes I think it's good to revisit what the CRC does, what it provides, to kind of reset ourselves and remind ourselves of what the CRC does. So in a nutshell, the CRC rescues children from extreme poverty. So what is the definition of extreme poverty? Being the research geek I am, I looked that up. And according to the World Bank, this is defined as living on less than $1.90 a day. I also found out that 60% of Sierra Leoneans live on less than $1.25 a day. So extreme poverty is clearly an issue in Sierra Leone. It's a population that certainly needs our help. Here's what it means in less kind of clinical terms. It means that children die from childhood diseases and starvation. It means that kids don't go to school. It means that 30,000 children under the age of 5 died last year in a country that's roughly the size of West Virginia. So some of us, the numbers speak to us, some of us, the words, but that gives you a sense of why we're there. CRC programs provide access to education, medical care, spiritual mentoring, case management, where people go out and visit homes and visit schools and check on how things are going, counseling, tutoring, and other supports to 600 children and youth in one of the poorest countries in the world. The CRC, it's important to know this, and I think it's important for us to share this and remind ourselves of this, but the CRC is entirely staffed by Sierra Leoneans. And the reason for that is because they understand their culture and the consequences of poverty that they face on a day-to-day basis better than we can. HCW supports the efforts of the CRC with training and expertise where it is requested, needed, and appropriate, and with financial support for infrastructure, staffing, and materials. Without CRC programs, children would not be able to go to school. Most of them would have to work simply to help their families have enough to eat and survive. This perpetuates, that situation perpetuates a cycle of poverty, because what we know is that those who do not receive an education grow up and have children who are likely to not receive an education, and that just continues to go on and on and on. The number one reason why children don't go to school is poverty. The CRC allows children to overcome tremendous barriers, attend school, and reach their God-given potential through their programs. The CRC kept 600 students in school last year. It helped dozens go on to graduate from college and vocational programs and put them on the path to become future leaders of Sierra Leone. And HCW and CRC are particularly focused on the education of girls, because the research also shows that if you educate a girl, you educate her family and you change the world. So that's all stuff we know, but it doesn't hurt to reiterate it. So now we're at a point where the CRC is looking to step into the next phase, I think, of its life as an organization. And there's a task force that's involved with that. And I'm going to let Mohammed introduce you to the members of the task force and kind of tell a little bit about how the task force came to be.
Well, yeah, the task force purely is comprises of 7 key members. This task force came up during the last CRC board meeting, Charity Center board meeting in October, the 5th of October, back in Sierra Leone with the bishop. And so we presented a document. The director worked on a document to present after a series of meetings attended, Then we presented a document to say, I mean, this could be a next phase for the charity center. We have to start planning this phase so that people can start knowing about this. Then we wait until the government comes out to say, you know what? Okay, you guys will give you enough time. We think, well, you only have 2 days now to close this so that we can have it on. So we want to always plan. Because if you fail to plan, you are going to plan to fail. And so we started planning, that way around. So the bishop, after a lot of lengthy discussion around the document and pros and the cons and things like that, Patty Moret, who's part of the conversation, have the active NCW supporter and partner, and then said, okay, let's have suggested to also have a task force in order to work on this transition. So Bishop approved that, and we were able to get task force members, so which included the director, myself here, Mohamed Nabil, and then Olivia Foni, who is back home in Sierra Leone. She is my immediate supervisor. She director of specialized ministries to children, and Kurma, who is another part of the CRC also as well. Aruna Stevens, who represents the students, who is representing the charity center children. Then Patty Moray is part of that task force as well. Laura Hover is here, part of the task force, and then Cynthia Grant, she is part of the task force because she's the finance somebody, because some of this transition might, in case it has some budgetary impact, should be able to help us figure things out. So those are the task force members, just named 7 of them. And we have been working together to plan a way to communicate this to the rest of the partners. But as you said, you can't balance in leadership. You don't go around your senior leaders. Like if the leaders make a decision, you always try to consult the people next to you so that it doesn't come back at you and say, oh, you didn't consult us. So you see, that's why you are very valued in partner reps and part connected to the mission, connected to the vision to transform lives and unlock potentials. We can't do some of these things without your involvement, without your input. So that is why you are here. You are all listening in to see how you can also make this vision, a dream, a success by you going back to your community, to your people, and tell them, you know what, this is huge. If we are ever not supported, this is the time for us to really step up our support, because this is not only now about helping an individual child, but this is about helping the entire country. This is about helping the country. This is about creating soil. This is about unlocking potential and creating leaders for the next generation to come, which is important. So the task force basically meets and then bring out ideas. How can we repurpose facilities? If we have the 20 children gone, how are we going to repurpose some of the facilities, the buildings we have? What are we going to do? What new programs can we bring in? Because these children are not only going to the community they are still going to be coming back to the building we have for meetings, for trainings, workshops, seminars, supplies, just come there for fun activities. They are going to be coming back. They are not where we are living, they're not coming back. There are 600 children plus, and even more we have, keep on coming back to the organization, the center, whenever we need them, to attend programs, to be part of functions. So it's not that we are going to change any vision in this. It's just about we are trying to add more impact to see how we can help many more children than we have ever done before. So those are the task force members, and that's basically what they do, to create plans, to communicate the plans with the partners, and then to develop strategies of ideas. How can we repurpose the facilities, and then take it back to the bishop, and then we can get to action and see how the new plan can take us.
Excellent. Thank you, Mohammed.
My pleasure.
Laura, do you want to share the general timeline or time frame of how this process will work and where Helping Children Worldwide comes into the process?
Sure. So the task force has already been stood up and has started work. It started work after the October meeting in the fall. The timeline has shifted, as timelines do, and so I can kind of provide a general sense of how that is proceeding. As Mohammed said, the main work of the task force is in collecting data and research about the local needs from the community, which will be discussed by all the members of the task force, along with the ideas the members of the task force might have to bring to that conversation. And through this process, that group will develop recommendations, which will be shared with the bishop and the CRC board. The task force will not make decisions. It will make recommendations to the bishop and Sierra Leone Annual Conference. The bishop will make decisions about what happens after that based on those recommendations. Once he's done that, he will come back to the HCW board, and there'll be some conversations, I'm sure, between the board and SLAC in terms of what it is HCW would like to support of the things that the bishop has identified as his priorities. The HCW as an organization has agreed to, with the bishop, with our partner, to work this process, to work within this process. And the decisions that HCW is going to make are going to be directly born out of that process. We're going to collaborate with our partners about what they decide, and decisions will be made based on data that comes from the community. One of the things that's helping the task force, there's a small working group called the Community Mapping Group, which is working with the CRC staff directly. They will train the CRC staff. The CRC staff will go out into the community, conduct focus groups, ask questions, not just of people in CRC programs, but people in the community about what they believe their needs are and how they believe their needs might best be addressed. That data will be brought to the task force and added to everything the task force is looking at in order to determine the recommendations it would like to make to HCW. And the reason for that is to try to get from the community, what is it to give people the dignity in a community to identify their own needs and their own concerns and bring those to us, rather than to have Americans say, here's what we think you need. So it's a process to try to engage the community and find out from them, what are your needs and what are your priorities? And then where do those needs and priorities overlay with the CRC vision and mission and the facilities that are available and the programs that are already put together, and how can we maybe modify programs or add programs or change things so that we can meet the needs of the community in the best way possible and in a way that fits in the CRC vision and mission.
Thank you. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I've heard the word community used quite a bit. And so you said you're going to go out into the community. How do you garner these people together? Do you meet in one place, or how is the word put out to all these people that there's going to be some kind of a community meeting where you are going to try to help us resolve some of our problems? How do you get to the community? How do you get to the community? That's my question.
Can you repeat the question so people can
Sure.
hear?
So Darlene is asking, how are we going to get out to the community, or are they going to be told that there's a place to come in to get at this information? You know, logistically, how does that work? The CRC is partnering with a group called One Village Partnership, and this is what they do. And they'll come in and train the CRC staff that will be conducting these focus groups. They'll help them to identify the stakeholders it's important to get out to and talk to. Well, you need to make sure that you speak to the people in the program. You need to also make sure you speak to the faith leaders in the community, or whoever they help identify. And they'll work with the CRC staff to identify who needs to be asked and what needs to be asked, and how to do that in a way that you're not, I don't know a better way to put this, but leading the witness, so that you're getting what people truly is on their hearts and what their true needs are. And that, I imagine, will be conducted. Some of those will be focus groups where people come to the CRC, and that happens at CRC, but I think there will also be an opportunity for CRC staff to go out into the community and speak to people in the community in places that are more comfortable for them. So that's my imagination. That piece of the process is still unfolding.
So the One Village Partnership, is this an organization that this is what they generally do, or is this, who is One Village Partnership?
Kim, do you want to answer that?
So it's One Village Partners.
Sorry.
And they are I'm really into this organization, so I'm gonna they're a really great organization. They only work in Sierra Leone, and they work in villages in Sierra Leone. So they go into a village and they basically form a group of community volunteers. And these are people that obviously volunteer and do it without pay, but they're also elected by the local community. So it's kind of this big process of finding the right people to get input from. Then these volunteers kind of pick their top 3 ideas that they think the community needs, and then the community votes on them. And then that's like the project. They do one project at a time for the village, but the community is contributing to it. So if they say we want a well, it's not like OVP comes in with the big, machine and does everything for them. They have to contribute to it. We're not necessarily going to do that exact same model, right? Like we might not end up building wells for people in Bow, but we're going to use their model of finding community leadership and how they do the trainings and how they solicit the ideas from the community. Because like Laura said, leading the witness, it's kind of hard to go in and be like, so like, what do you need? Like, what do you want? That's, you can do that, but you're not going to get good answers, or you're going to get something weird.
And we have a wonderful board member, Shannon Trilly, who has some great experience in leading this kind of effort. And she was the one who initially proposed that we could support the task force by helping them bring together work to do community mapping to get a better answer. So,
and Darlene's question was right on the money, because my first question was, well, like, what is our community? Like, it's this big city of Bow, and there's all these different neighborhoods and schools, and it's not like you're in a village of 100 people and they all have the same kind of water source and the same clinic and the same, there's not necessarily going to be, I think, as much consensus and a specific thing, so, and I don't know, because, we still have this next piece to do with OVP, and I have a meeting set up with them in a couple weeks, but my guess is they're going to teach us how to do kind of a cross section. We're going to have some people from Bow City. We're going to have some people from the villages outside of Bow, and kind of take all of that data in.
when you say we, who are you really talking
Sorry,
about?
OVP.
So, but when you say they're going to teach
The CRC
us,
staff.
the CRC
Mhm.
staff,
Not
so
us, yes.
it's not really HCW who will
Yeah.
be doing the
No,
work
it's
at all.
No, not at all.
It will be Mohammed staff who
Yeah,
will be doing the
exactly.
work.
Like, I will be in Bow, but my face will not be seen at any of these meetings, because that would completely skew everything. And I think even having people come into the CRC would skew things, especially those who don't know what the CRC is, because you want kind of to start with a blank slate. They will still get input from people already in their programs, but they also want to see what other people who don't know anything about what the CRC does are interested in, because it can bias people when they already know what they have.
So if I can just make a comment, we are really fortunate to have Kim articulate this. Kim's expertise in, even prior to coming to Helping Children Worldwide, in how do you launch new programs in communities. And what we just heard from Kim is considered, at least in the healthcare field, but any kind of development field, Development 101. I am really grateful to have professionals and professional advice on our board, and professionals from Sierra Leone remind us that the process is not when we go, we see, or frankly, the process is not even, forgive me, Mohammed, our CRC director, who has a great knowledge of the programs. The process is we understand what does the community need, because it's been borne out for decades, time and time again, that if you don't engage the community and provide in identifying the key problem and being a part of the solution, then the solution will fail. And I've been doing this work since we first started, and I can tell you we've got example after example after example of small projects that we thought were great, were great, but failed, frankly, because there was no community engagement. So I, for one, am hearing some really exciting things, and I love that the process starts at the beginning.
Yeah, and the staff are really looking up to this. They are really looking forward to it, because TD Jake said, if you always do what you have always done, you always be where you've always been sometimes. So this whole thing is a great opportunity for us to really see what can we do differently. If we have to do it all over again, what would be that thing we have to do it all over again? That's important, because having the communities to own their own lives and the meaning. Any development project, for it to be sustainable, the people, development mentor, have to be the stake. They have to be involved in it. You have to learn to be involved. You have to allow to take ownership of the initiative. Then that means it moves from working for them and working with them.
Mm-hmm.
We have to work with them. This time we're only working for them. Okay, this is whether I want it or not, check it. But this becomes from working for you and working with you. We are not going to have them be involved because there are people, as Kim said, people are not really relating to our organization. Yes, people, those are their front, our ignorance. People who don't even think they are part of what they don't see. But they see more than what even those within the organization that are seeing. So asking those people to contribute, to give input, to see what's happening, what the needs are, it's going to be sustainable. And it's just will be an opening for all of us to really advance God's kingdom on earth, because this is not for us. It's for benefit to other people at the end of the day.
I think this is wonderful, and having been there many, many times, you know, you go there and it's a compound, and you're in the compound, you stay there.
Mhm.
Okay, you stay there. And then out here is a whole different world of people who
Yeah.
have lives, and they have, you know, they have questions, but they're out there and like, okay, we're out there and we're in here, this sort of thing. But yeah, I think it's wonderful that someone has. Why did it take this long? 2005, that's been a few years now. Why is it all of a sudden someone has said, well, hey.
I think we've been moving in this direction. I mean, I think recently we've had MVIM teams who have done VBS specifically and intentionally focused on the 600 kids that don't live in the residence. And we've been looking at ways to do that, you know, at least over the last 18 months, I think, and moving forward. So,
And we have an opportunity right now because we're at that nexus of transformation. That we have an opportunity to step back and think about, okay, how do we support not just these 600 children, but the next 600 children. So this is our opportunity to think about how what we do next is going to have the greatest impact. And at the same time, we want to talk about what kinds of things we can do in mission and that supports this process, and what we can do in mission while we're in the midst of this process. And also not forget that we still have 600 children we're currently supporting. So we're not closing anything. So
this is Patty. May I ask a question?
Sure, Patty, absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for your contributions. This has been wonderful to listen to. So this OVP group that's going to be training the CRC staff and helping them figure out how to get a cross section identified and get feedback from the community and what they feel are the biggest needs. One of the things that you mentioned to start with was that we need to look at, you know, the CRC board and HCW are going to be looking at what fits with the CRC vision and mission. So I assume that somebody's going to be handling the sensitive part where we're not disappointing the community, or the CRC is not disappointing people, because sometimes people misunderstand when they're asked for their input, and then if they don't see their desire realized, then they're disappointed. So I assume that somehow that's going to be handled.
That is a very, very valid point, Patty. And that is why we're working with this One Village Partners, because they are actually, they have the model to be able to train the staff, not just during the questioning period, but in the discernment and then the process that follows up. So that's one of the things that we're hoping to, the expertise that we're hoping will be shared with our Sierra Leonean partners as they begin to work this out.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask Linda Reinhardt, who is our mission specialist, if she'll talk briefly about how this will impact Helping Children Worldwide mission teams while the process is ongoing.
Okay. I apologize, I have a cold, so I'll try to be as clear as I can. That is a question that has come up recently, is so what are our mission teams going to do? If we can't go over and, you know, walk next door to the CRC. for many of our teams, that's not what they have ever done. We have always sent medical teams over, and they will continue to go over and work at Mercy Hospital. As Laura pointed out earlier, the last 2 December teams have gone over and done Vacation Bible School with the children in the CSP program out in the communities. And so that is a way of getting our missioners out of the walls into the community to see the children that we are still supporting. There may be opportunities for them to still work with some of the children when they come into, as Nabs said earlier, when they come to the CRC buildings to do letter writing events, because all of our children write to their sponsors. There may be opportunities for them to work on staff training. This summer, we are hoping to have some of the teachers on our team do teacher training with the teachers in the elementary school where our children attend. By supporting the teachers in the school, we not only are supporting our children, but every other child in that school. And that is a way that we can have a broader impact than just, well, I affected this one child. I went over and I tutored a child in English for a couple of days. I made a great big difference. Probably not. But if you teach a teacher how to more effectively teach her class, then you have impacted not one child for a couple of days, but you have impacted a whole group of children for a much longer period of time. And that is the direction that we are going with our mission teams. We may have some other non-standard teams who will travel. We are looking at opening up, similar to Compassion, sponsored trips where we will have a set number of slots and sponsors can sign up and go and visit with their sponsor children in their sponsor children's home and meet their family. Compassion does that model. So we have a number of ways where we will still have people who will travel over, engage in our programs, and come bring those stories back and help to engage our partner churches.
Yeah. And of course, the piece that we need to emphasize is that we are not imposing our mission teams on our Sierra Leonean partners. We are working with them to design what it is they need us to come do, and then bringing them the expertise and the assistance that they need. So that.
I mean, we are going to contribute to that. So, like, even though HCW have their own activities for the teams, when they get there, what to do, we are also, as a team, we're going to sit down over there and say, oh, you know what? We are going to really add the team, the on-beam team, not only when they come, let them really be like missionaries, not like, just stay inside walls. And let's provide some other opportunity for them to go out to the community and see something fun and let them walk around, walk on the side of the roads. And here in the US, I know it's very different. I don't see people walking around and everybody's in his or her car with windshield, everything off. Nobody does. So that you go out and see kids playing around the pitch with no sneakers, nothing there. And you see in the community, you come down from the car and you walk a little bit like a mile and see what is happening. Go see the rice paddy, go see the farm around, go see the swamp and see how that works out. Get something. When you come back, you're not only going to tell a story about, oh, I saw this child, look at my photo with child. Okay, you see, I visited something like that, which was great school. That's part of Africa. It's like also a learning moment for the people who live here to go, not only to go and learn about a child, but learn about the culture, learn about something they can come back home and see. So I want to create an opportunity for the team members to find it really more interesting. They go there to also benefit from something not only relating to a kid, but also something relating to other, general aspect of life. Of course, usual children are going to be coming in. When they want to see children, if the team is going over a specialized team, like medical team, they want to see the children to check their teeth and things like that. Of course, if 600 children, they are coming back to the compound that same day. you check their teeth and things. We have letter events, as Linda said. We have Christmas parties, Christmas events. We have games that we can bring them in once in a while to play games. If we want to have that, we have spiritual programs, teachings, honoring God to body classes. All those behavioral things will be on. So if a team is fortunate to be there on campus that time when we have these planned activities, of course, you have time to meet with the kids, other kids. If not, you have to go to the community and meet with a bunch of the other kids who have there. Not only they're entitled to one child, no one child specific. They are all our children. So it's just, they are all children we are ready to support and make their lives better. So I think it's going to be great for on-beam team. There's nothing going to be changed, but there's something going to be added. Things are going to be added to make it more enjoyable. Yeah.
And so we've come to the point now where we have given you a lot of information, we know. And I've seen the people in the room furiously taking notes. Your job obviously is going to be to turn around and tell people what we just told you. Oh my goodness, how are you ever going to do that? Well, we came up with an idea, and we hope that you're willing to indulge us in this little exercise to help you craft an elevator speech to talk about what is the CRC, what is it that it does, what is the task force, etc. So we're going to do a little exercise, and this will involve it's all interactive from this point forward.
Right.
And when we're done with that piece, then we have the Q&A piece where the answers we didn't give you. Oh, well, first, Kathleen is going to talk about the communication plan. Sorry, about getting it out. I don't want to forget that. How we're going to talk about moving forward and the additional information that's going out, because that's her specialty.
All right, ready? Okay. So we're calling this an elevator speech, and most of you know what this means. We had to explain it to a friend of ours this week who comes from another culture, and she didn't really understand what that was. In fact, she pointed out people in America don't talk to each other on elevators. Absolutely correct.
How can you have an elevator speech?
Right. In fact, don't talk to people. Yeah, don't talk to people on elevators in America. It's really uncomfortable. But so an elevator speech, just all that means is it's the amount of information that you can give to somebody in the amount of time it takes to have an elevator ride. Oh. So when we tested this out, she also remarked at the end of it that we would have to go 11 or 12 floors for this speech happen. So we're going to give you the 12. We're going to pull together the 12-floor version of the elevator speech. And then you can take that away with you. We're going to give you an opportunity to take that away with you. We'll send it back with you in various ways so that you have it. And then you can cut it down for however many floors you need it to work for. So for those of you who are participating in the room or online, it is available on the Zoom desktops. Linda is sharing it with you. And she's actually going to fill in the blanks as we go. And you're going to be the ones filling in the blanks. So I hope you're ready to participate. So here we go. I'm going to go over the questions quickly, and then we'll take each question one by one. So these are questions that kind of have come up with us over the week that we think you'll need to be ready to address. The Child Rescue Center rescues children from blank. The Child Rescue Center serves blank, as in how many children, and blank who else. CRC programs in Sierra Leone provide access to blank. The CRC is located blank. Next. Sorry. No, not yet. Okay. The definition of extreme poverty is blank. The CRC is entirely staffed by blank. Without the CRC programs blank, and because of the CRC programs blank. Okay, so let's tackle them one by one. Next slide. So the first question is, the Child Rescue Center rescues children from?
Extreme poverty.
Okay. Does anybody want to add to that? It isn't a quiz, but does anybody want to kind of build out on that?
and hopelessness.
And hopelessness?
Unknown futures.
We'll clean it up.
I know, I'm always like,
very hard job.
yeah, I always, yeah, you're doing great.
Thanks, Janie.
I do
Janie's
the
a
S
teacher.
and D all the time, so I understand. That's the fancy
All right.
day.
Anything else?
Okay. The Child Rescue Center serves,
600
Over.
or 640?
it's actually over 600.
So maybe about
I think our current number is 618,
greater than.
right?
620.
620?
Yeah.
Do you want me to put in exact?
Exactly.
Those are
An
600 plus.
estimation,
Yeah.
hope that it grows.
It's
Right.
It grows.
Yeah,
And
600 plus.
Yeah.
And it is a fluctuating
Change
number.
it soon to 700, you know?
Yeah. So over 600. And who else does the Child Rescue Center serves?
Communities, families.
Families, communities. Schools,
Country,
the country, good.
the world.
The world.
Wow.
I like, you think big, Mr. Director, I like that. Anyone else online?
Once you get the world in there, I don't know what else to
Well,
do.
universe. How's that?
How about God?
Yeah. Oh, I like that, good answer. Like family.
Family feud.
I know. All right. CRC programs in Sierra Leone provide access to hope. Ooh, nice.
Through.
Education, hope.
Earlier.
I would say hope
No,
through
I have to write
education.
this.
Okay.
Addressing,
Tina took notes.
it's addressing Patty's hopelessness.
I didn't know with us. Relying on
I know, then
my,
my heart dropped when you were like,
I'm like, are we gonna go around the table and both
No,
see what
no.
you get? Yeah.
I liked removing barriers.
Okay. Removes barriers.
Spiritual what? Spiritual.
For education, medical services, spiritual education, spiritual growth, spiritual, how would you describe it?
Mentoring,
Like access to spirit.
growth, spiritual growth.
Spiritual development.
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 Your spiritual well-being or development.
Like well-being.
Development.
Development and growth,
Development.
maybe?
What about food? They help,
Well, family.
or I don't know.
Yeah.
I think well-being is good. It's a, is a
Yeah,
good
'cause with the
general.
elevator
Yeah.
speech, you don't wanna
Yeah.
be,
And removes barriers
Because we don't
to.
literally
it'll be
give,
too long, yeah.
they don't literally give food. It's their
Oh,
own
community.
stipend
It also.
that they
Stipend, the
could
kids have
use
food
to
and-
buy
Yeah,
food.
provide-
Oh, a
Right.
sense of community.
Give
Okay.
It's not
Someone-
literally like,
A bag of
here's a
rice.
bag of rice, you know,
Yeah.
so we don't want to miss, they don't want to miss food.
And this is just like a summary too.
Right.
They can ask
This goes back, this
Don't YouTube my name
Yeah.
because it's there.
Right.
So anything else out there on, people on the phone and on the internet?
So this goes back to the story that Kathleen was sharing, that this is the story that actually, I was with Kathleen when this happened, and we went to visit Queen of Roses school, and one girl was trying to call over all of the CRC girls. Queen of Roses is a girls' school, so we weren't just isolating the girls, they're all girls, but she was calling over all the CRC girls, and it was all the CRC girls in the CSP, in the residential program, in the family care program, and they all know each other, and they all belong to each other, they all think of themselves as fellow CRC
So community and
students. So
belonging.
it gives them a sense of community and belonging.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go 24.
Yeah.
Next.
30.
The CRC is located
In Sierra Leone.
in Sierra Leone.
In our hearts
So I think it was helpful when Kathleen mentioned those other villages around. You
Just
said
name the places.
3 or 4 names.
That's why I said Sierra Leone, not Bo.
You say Bo.
Yeah, other communities.
Right, because you have to say Bo because the majority's there, but Bangahoon, what do we say?
McKinney, Kenema, Kuno,
Freetown.
couple kids in Freetown, and
And
some of the college kids are in Freetown.
Many other provinces across the country. The
Okay.
CRC is located in both Sierra Leone, but serves children in.
Yeah.
In other parts of the.
Because otherwise it looks like we.
I feel like
Actually,
that
the
would maybe
CRC
Syria.
administrative offices are
Yeah.
located in both,
Yeah.
but the CRC is located everywhere.
Yeah.
I sort of like the concept of the CRC. I like locating in terms
too.
of presence,
Yeah,
not
me too.
geography.
I like it in our hearts and minds. That's wonderful. Who added that? That was wonderful.
Also, although I will say when we talk, not that you guys asked, but when we talk to people who are unfamiliar with this,
In our
it's
hearts
really
and minds,
helpful
it's
to
all
know that we have a physical presence in this location and we go out and serve places. So it's not like we have 12 different offices across the country.
Right. I think the CRC administrative offices are located.
Also, in general, it's a good idea to get in the habit of saying children and youth, because so many of the kids in our programs are
young people.
16 years and older, so we don't want people to always think it's just little tiny tots, but there's a big.
These are children. They come in as children, but they continue stay in the program they go to college level, so they become youth, young adults. So.
Right, when we went, they were trying to get us to sponsor a child, and they said they didn't have any more of the little children left, and, you know, there were 17-year-olds, and, I have a 17, well, I guess she's older than that now, but, I'm Mariama, and she just,
What matters, you are transforming Mariama's life.
love her. Yeah, and I was envisioning getting like a little 6-year-old, and I never would have imagined having, a teenager, but it's great.
All right. The definition of extreme poverty is
$1.90. $90.
World Bank says living on less than $1.90 a day.
Is it just
The reality in
money,
Sierra
though?
Leone.
You know,
Well,
poverty?
I think it helps to also say it means kids don't go to school. It means childhood diseases. It means starvation.
Right. And that hopelessness.
There's
And
a
that
lot of
hopelessness.
debate,
Yeah.
in the development community about using that monetary amount,
Thank
and
you.
they do it because it is shocking, you know, especially for people coming from this context. You go, oh, $2, like I can't even
How
get
could
a
I live
gallon
on
of
$2
milk,
a day?
you know?
Right.
But you're exactly right. It's not always literally just tied to that
Monetized.
money. It's to all those extra things that are impacted by it.
They don't go to school. They die of preventable childhood diseases.
They don't eat 3 meals a day.
They don't eat 3 meals a day.
It's not because they don't have access to chicken nuggets.
Right, we have Taco Bell advertising for second dinner, you know,
Right.
like.
Restaurants that advertise buy a meal and take one home, and
They starve to death.
Right.
No access,
That's preventable disease.
access to medical,
access to medical care. Yeah, they don't have access to medical care.
They don't have shoes.
Their basic needs are not met.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Basic needs are not met, such as
Yeah, food, water, shelter.
including
Children
Safe
work
generation.
Children
work
go
and
to
send
work
work
at the age of 5.
Three. Yeah.
3.
As soon as they can walk and hold that.
Yeah.
As soon as they can hold that basket.
You may want to consider including words like they are at risk for.
For what? Patty, what? They're at risk?
You can list a whole bunch of things.
Go ahead.
Right,
Go
Many
ahead.
things you've already said.
So I feel like
Childhood
we're gonna be
disease,
too
malnutrition.
detailed. We're gonna, it gets you kind of stuck in what you're saying.
I mean, starving to death is one of them. Just
Right.
Yeah, you can rephrase this whole thing.
That's
Yeah,
true.
just summarize. But I think it's good to get all the ideas out and then
Yeah.
figure out how to
Yeah, you
summarize
can
it.
always rephrase it.
All right, shall we go? Okay, so getting to the top of the building. The CRC is entirely staffed by.
Sierra Leone.
wonderful people.
Yes. Angels on her.
Wonderful, godly people.
I would also, I'd like to reinforce, I mean, there are some really professional well-trained people at the CRC. I'm
Doing the
like
work day
Highly
after
professional.
day.
Professional
after day.
Sierra Leoneans.
here, professional Sierra Leoneans.
Sierra Leonean professionals. I like that.
Highly trained or just.
Highly trained
Professional
professional.
sounds, yeah.
Yeah, highly trained professional. Come on, make up your mind.
That's what happens when you
Yeah, I was gonna say about
Should be highly trained professional Sierra Leoneans. Yeah. Yeah.
Or then maybe you should just cut and paste.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Not to boss you because you're, yeah, I know.
we will definitely fix
You're
this.
And then we'll send it out to you and you can
Linda, can you
modify your own
add
use.
capable leaders?
Capable leaders, like that. Next. Without CRC programs.
Oh my goodness.
There you go.
Don't even want to think.
We'll just,
Lions and tigers and bears. Oh no.
actually doing research on, online and watching YouTube videos and seeing what it was like just 20 years ago. It's like, I don't even know, there's no words, so.
Well, even to make it just concrete for what we've talked about today, without CRC programs, 600 kids would not be in school,
Right?
or have access to medical care.
We wouldn't have marriage.
Right. Kim and Leone would be married.
That
might belong in the elevator.
Going along with the numbers, which I think is really important, is we should calculate how many students have graduated from post-secondary programs.
Right.
That's a number we can definitely go back and get a hold of. But yeah, without the CRC program, we would not have 2 medical doctors that recently graduated. We would not
I think that's our last
have
slide.
the current CRC director.
Percentage of.
Right?
And
Yes.
can I also, if that is our last slide, may I suggest that we include, without the invitation of our Sierra Leonean partners, we would not have the opportunity to be blessed by this ministry.
Yes, oh my goodness.
Oh, wonderful, yes.
Right. That is so true.
Won't you join us?
And going along with that, I think we also ought to say we wouldn't have however many partner churches we have.
Right.
And the benefit that the partner churches get is, that's a personal, not necessarily measurable number, but that's part of the elevator speech too, is what churches and people have personally gotten out of this. And I'm not just talking about people who have gone there.
Right.
Right.
Without the invitation.
You got all that?
She freedom from bondage, yeah.
And
And oppression.
without the invitation from our Sierra Leonean partners, without the invitation to join our Sierra Leonean partners in this ministry, feel free to wordsmith this later, but in this ministry, we would miss out on God's blessings of furthering his kingdom together with others.
Yeah, this unity, this worldwide unity.
So normally when I do
Wordsmith it.
an elevator speech,
Yeah.
there's a reason why I'm giving you this elevator
Right.
speech.
Right.
And it's because I
want you to
need
join.
you.
Yeah.
And I need your support. I need your money, very frankly. And so I think it would be helpful for all of us to be able to be more comfortable with those words
Yeah.
that say, the reason I'm telling you this elevator is I need.
There's a lot of changes are going on at the CRC right now that we are going to be called to support going forward. We want you to know about this so that you can be better prepared to respond to requests for support as they come forth from our Sierra Leonean partners.
This is Cindy. I was going to say that, too, it's important for other people to understand how far our money goes in Sierra Leone, how much of an impact just a little bit of money makes.
Mhm.
I think, did we lose you?
No,
No,
that was the end of her
she
sentence.
finished? Okay.
Yeah.
How far their money goes.
How would we say that? How would we put
Efficiency
that
in the
in the
use of your
speech?
dollars. Efficiency in the use of your dollars.
For $25 a month.
What's
you know,
happening?
like
Crazy,
Right.
yeah. And I also think it's important, like, for the people that are sitting around this table for so long to speak of donor integrity, because just the short amount of time that I was on that, I work closely with Mercy Hospital, the integrity of the people that are actually running the organization and making sure that the money goes where we say it's going to go. Like, that's something I always make sure that I tell people when I find out, when they're considering sponsoring a child or any kind of thing, like, you do not have to worry. Like, these people are for real. And
These are real children.
yeah.
This is a real hospital.
When you're wordsmithing this, if you could insert 2 little words, so that is also very effective, so people can see that this is why you're doing something, and it's so that this other thing is going to happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you, guys. All right, do we have one more? Not good more. I think we're good. We're at the 12th floor now.
Woo,
There we go. That we sort of said that.
13th floor.
No 13th floor because that's unlucky.
Oh my God, so it's okay. Yeah.
We did some of that on the 11th floor.
Because of CRC programs, there are 2 new doctors in Sierra Leone.
Right. Very recent. Because of CRC programs.
Children who were previously who had previously not been exposed to the message of Christ and Christmas have heard the good news and can bring it back to their families.
You read your newsletter.
Families have.
That stuck with me. Thank you for writing that.
Families have the opportunity to achieve self-sustainability through the microfinance program.
Oh yeah, that was in the newsletter too, wasn't it?
I also like the word dignity. I just was, when we went and visited the child you sponsored, that young woman you just could see her. And that's great to give people dignity. And then that other story, that woman that was able to establish her own store.
That was great.
That's dignity is.
People
Dignity of providing for self and caring for self.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Right, and I think the going outside the gates is so important because on the teams that I've been on, like that, a lot of times that is what catches the hearts on fire in a different way, is to go out and see the real, what's going on the outside where there's not the walls.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that more, it's very exciting.
Okay.
Just to insert the word medical before doctors.
I'll put the word medical before doctors. Here's what's going to happen with this. I think.
Yeah, we have to continue to add. I mean, the literacy, because of the CRC, the education part, this is very important. Sierra Leone is one of the most illiterate. Have like 70% of the literacy rate. So because of the CRC, we are really contributing to the literacy rate of the country, the population living there. In addition to all those, health, saving the child's life through medical, and because all the children in our program are getting free medical through the Master Hospital because primary father they are in our program. So that's also helping to stay them healthy. Because once the child stays healthy, the child can get something in school, and that can keep a child going as well.
Okay. So what's going to happen with this PowerPoint? Now, this whole Zoom is being recorded, and after sometime next week, you'll get an email with the recorded version of this, with the cleaned up elevator speech PowerPoint slides, so that you can use them and modify them as you need to. Kathleen's going to talk a little bit about the next piece of this, but before we close this out, I don't want you to feel like we've contributed to this PowerPoint and then poof, it goes away and we never see it again. You're going to get it. We're going to send it to you. So,
is there anything else we need to add to the speech? If so, you don't have to give it to us right now. You can give it to us later.
Within the week, right?
In a week.
Yeah.
Because
sometimes your best ideas,
Right.
Yep.
And Kathleen can talk about how that's going to work.
Well, thank you again so much. This was really encouraging and inspiring to hear everybody's outpouring of ideas and to hear that enthusiasm, which obviously hasn't waned at all around the Child Rescue Center. For the first meeting, we just wanted to invite you, the partner church reps and pastors and the ambassadors to participate in the first meeting. And as we progress through the transformation process, we're going to have regular opportunities to get together and share information. We'll be communicating to the partnership regularly, both to provide updates on the work of the task force, but also to answer any questions and address any issues that people may have. So we've already set up a web page on our site. It's under the Child Rescue Center tab that just has that initial letter on it, and we'll be posting updates on there, FAQs, and we'll send out regular communications, and we'll have updates in the newsletter. The most important thing that we want to leave with everybody today is, please, if you have any questions, concerns, or ideas, if you can please email us or call us. If you have a question, somebody else probably has that question. So we really, really, really need to hear from you. And we value you so much. You are our voice to your congregations, and we want to make it really easy and clear for you to get the information that you need. So please don't hesitate to call us or email us. You can, as we said before, Laura and Cynthia Grant are both on the task force. You can talk to them. You can talk to anybody on staff. And we just ask that maybe you give us 24 hours to get back to you. Please don't ever think that it's a silly question or it's a burden or anything like that. We would love to hear from you. And whether it's a phone call or an email, please just keep in touch with us. So the more you communicate with us, the better we'll be able to get the information and answers out to everyone. I think that one thing that kind of started coming out in this initial process is we didn't realize how many people really thought that the CRC is the residential center, because we got people back saying, why is the CRC closing? And we were a little bit taken aback by that, because we felt like we thought we had done a pretty good job of communicating that, but we didn't. So we need to hear from you. What are we not saying that you need us to say to your congregation, to you personally, and how can we support you better? So please don't hesitate to call or email Laura or me or Melody or anybody on staff anytime at all. And thank you, and we love you.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And before we close out, there's got to be more questions that came up. There's got to be more information. So, yes.
So I would be interested to know how the transition plan or the next steps to figure out right sizing. Right, so I would like to be able to be better at saying, we envision this transition to then make us drive to 700 children, and therefore we don't have the budget for that, or we're holding back. I need help right sizing and being able to explain that.
Okay. I will be completely frank. I can't answer that question right now, but it is a good one to keep in the hopper, because that is a question we're going to get. Yeah. And that is part of the HCW process. When all of this is completed, HCW then has at your board and gather the information from our partners on what it is you want to do next. When you see what the vision that comes out of the task force is, what does HCW want to support next? Where do you want to see your dollars invested? So that's the kind of process that takes place after the task force process is completed.
Do you think that the task force, though, will kind of make some recommendations about right sizing? Will they come to the bishop and say to the CRC board, this transition can help you drive to helping 800 families? Or, will that process kind of help that right sizing recommendations to the bishop? Maybe you don't know the answer to that yet.
Well, yeah, it's right, because since our grant is on this session, so we're not going to numbers, but if you really look at the numbers also over the time, the amount of dollars, the amount of money we spend on the one child living in the residence, that money can be able to support like 3 more children living in the program in order to go to school, get medical get medical, go to school, and things like that. So you look at how much you are spending on the child, one child living in the restaurant, it's cheap. So with us, if we're now supporting 600 children, once this transition holds, really we're able to get, I'm sure within the 2 or 3 years, as we continue, that's all we have to do. That's our responsibility to, because this is where, you know, your value continues to progress. How you go back to your churches, how we continue to add more people who stay motivated, who committed that their money are making good progress and doing something like that. And then we are sure of moving the program beyond 600 children to help many, many more children, even go to many other provinces where there are children living in the villages that are not still going to school. We have not still extended to those places. And every day it's happening now. The children, when schools are in session, you see this small kid, 3 or 4 years old, having petty trading, going selling things one to one. And now they used to come around to the CRC compound. Every day you open the CRC, the gate, you see a bunch of children lined up around the gate, sitting down there, waiting to be recruited, waiting, just asking, hey, I have not eaten. Hey, can you help? I'm not going to school. My mother asked me this to go and sell this peanuts. You know, how are you going selling that? So now the children are now moving towards the Ministry of Social Welfare's gate. You know, the children, because they're in charge of the children. So now the children, in the afternoon, you go to that gate, you see a bunch of children parked there with their markets, with their things they are selling, because they want the government to send them to school. And the government prioritizing so many other things, and they don't have the funds to have these children helped. And they keep on following these organizations to say, how can you help these children to go to school? So it's just going to, I see that it's really going to be advantageous. It's going to help many more kids than we imagine.
So Rick, to your question, I think I might frame it a little bit differently. Rather than say that we are being very careful to put limits on the vision, because there's vision, we would love to be able to help, frankly, more and more and more, and that's an evolving process.
Yeah.
So what I basically say to donors about board discussions on this issue is, here's how we go through this. We say, you know, we honestly, we work very closely with our Sierra Leone partners. And for the most part, when we hear from our Sierra Leone partners, we are looking to, you know, do the following at Sierra Leone. We have been fortunate over the years to have a very aligned vision with helping children, exactly as it was described, recover from and be rescued from hopelessness and poverty. So because we have that very closely aligned vision, but because we also have to be strategic in how we raise funds, and because how we raise funds and how they're applied, it's a matter of timing and process. So it's not a matter of, well, we can't do that and we can't do this, and well, we're trying hard not to do that because we can only afford this. It's really more, the discussion is more, our goal is X in the next 5 years. And so to get to X, we need to raise X amount of dollars in those next 5 years. And in year 1, it's going to look like A. And in year 2, it's going to look like A plus B. And in year 3, we're hoping to get to A plus B plus C. But let's see how year 1 goes. Right? Yeah. That's how I like to frame that conversation. And I'm not sure if that's what you meant by right sizing.
That's a great way of saying it. And I'm also just reinforcing that it would be helpful to have all 16 churches on that same kind of voice, that same mode of communication.
It's not that we can't help and we don't want to help X, and we don't, and this is not part of, you know, expanding more to more children. Yep. It is part of all of our vision. And frankly, if all of us who are individual donors and partner churches and, you know, staff that are reaching out to corporations for grants, if we continue intentionally and prayerfully honoring God with our time, talents, and resources, we may be and have experienced the blessing of having been remarkably blessed and exceeding our expectations in the past. We've also had the experience of not quite exceeding them. So we say, okay, well, you know, retrench. How do we revisit that? Yeah. But you know, I've been doing this long enough. I remember when we came in with some substantial overages on a song and a prayer to achieve something that nobody thought was going to be achieved, and we did. So we just need to be intentional and prayerful.
And also we need to recognize that God is driving us, and we need just to be obedient to his call. I mean, because in 2010, I helped deliver a baby at Mercy Hospital when the generator was in and out with a kerosene lamp. And now there is an operating room and process. that's going to happen. And I mean, when we didn't think we could get an ambulance, when we didn't think, and look what God did. And so, I mean, we need to remember to keep that faith that God can do anything.
Well, also, I'm just thinking, you want a large number of people to know about this elevator talk.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Please.
So my question to you is, I'm thinking about my own church, Ebenezer. Okay. How will Ebenezer know this? Do you have a videographer? Have you ever had a video that's played at the churches and said, who is CRC? Where is, if you went down the, you're on this, if you go down our church and say,
Excuse me, I was
CRC. Oh yeah, that's that Run for Bow thing, isn't it? Oh yeah, I ran in that and I gave money. And do you know where it is? Well, I think it's in Africa. Oh yeah, it's in Africa, right? Okay. Well, what are they doing there? Rescuing children, I guess. Is what it's called. Okay, so how many people know what we're doing? We can talk, we can plan, but how, I mean, at our church, be honest with me.
Shannon can probably speak.
How
Not
many-
to put you on the spot
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So what is your title at church again?
Sure, I'm Director of Missions Outreach.
Right. So,
So how many people at our church know exactly what CRC
This is a battle I fight constantly.
It's a battle. It really is.
And I still have people who come up and they will write me a $1,500 check to sponsor Bo. And they'll say, and they'll tell me again, who is Bo?
Yeah, this guy.
Can everybody hear what's being said here?
Who is Bo?
Yeah, who is Bo?
Let's let Melody
So we
repeat
do
some
our
of this
best
for the.
just to keep kind of reiterating what we're doing. I think having this elevator speech put together is a great.
I think it has to be. It has to go up on our screen sometime.
and we have so many
It has to be on the
missions
screen and
also.
say, hey, one year when I was in Bow, we had a Sunday where to our church.
Yep.
I have people say this to me all the time. That was wonderful. We saw those children. We saw what they were doing.
Yeah.
That happened one time and that was it.
Right.
Okay. How many other, and we have so many people in our church, they never saw this. How did they know?
Part of our struggle is that folks do not attend church. Like, probably go every Sunday. Folks do not attend church in that pattern.
That's true.
So communicating to them, if we do it 2 weeks in a row, we've missed at least a third of our folks because that's how they're going 1 in 3 times. So
yes.
So we do try to hit it through. We've got some great short videos that HCW has provided of the kids. Those are always very memorable. And through all of our regular lines. But I have found no matter how often and what a multitude of ways that you tell folks, there are some who just don't get it.
But they're still gonna blindly give $1,500.
Absolutely.
Right. Because they feel, yeah, exactly, like, that's beautiful.
And I take their
We think it's wonderful that they kindly give that amount of money. We would love them to become repeat donors because they're invested.
Their eyes are open.
in the mission, and it's part of their definition. And so we're going to try and help you do that. And Kathleen has taken on this specialist position with the organization to communicate. And she and I are going to be working with all of you to do more than just craft an elevator speech, to give you all kinds of information. And Kathleen, I'll let you quickly summarize what it is that we've been talking about.
Well, we've just been talking about helping you to be very effective communicators for this mission that you love, and to be able to just concisely convey what the Child Rescue Center is doing, or eventually Mercy too, if you're more of a Mercy invested person. So these questions are so brilliant because you're telling us what people are thinking, whether you know it or not. So we'll put together this elevator speech, whatever you want to call it, just your 2-minute explanation, 10-second explanation of what it is that you're advocating for, and then we'll all get on the same page. We'll all be singing this from the same hymnal,
and we're going to we had a wonderful videographer, professional, go out and shoot a lot of footage, and in October, And he has put together 3 videos, and we're sending all of those out and on DVDs and through our various methods of getting them to you. We have already started sending those out. You should be receiving them. I know I've gotten them to 3 of our partnership churches, but all of partnership churches will have those, plus a stock of lovely photos and some short blurbs that can go into your bulletins and many communication pieces that you can use. And if there is something else that you're thinking, well, I need this, that's when you pick up the phone and call us and say, why haven't you got me this yet? I need this now.
We could wear T-shirts that say "Ask me about."
Yes. And we will take the donation for that anytime you want to give it. How much for those T-shirts? Well, I don't know yet.
Honestly, just
I'll
wear
send you
a
the
necklace in the market. That's what I wear all the time. Like I have this one that people got.
You got it.
And then right, and then that.
I have a donor.
Yeah,
I do want to say thank you because over the years, the staff here has been incredibly
got
responsive.
it.
And I'm the one who's
Very
always
good.
sending those emails. I have this, but I need a picture of X. And then they are all with the resources
For your
and
animal.
just their responses. Oh my goodness. I am, the response time is like no one else we work with. So thank you.
Yeah, I was shocked if I sent a question email.
Yes.
I have one question about how invested are each of the individual preachers at the partner churches? Because, you know, even us at Florist, who is probably one of the most involved, you know, it's like you just can't walk up to Tom Berlin and say, hey, can we have 3, you know, 2-minute blips?
Right.
You know, I might be able to because we know Tom a little bit better, but to, you know, get it, let's face it.
There's so many missions, and if they do 3 minutes for,
Right,
you know,
the
like
head
there's-
pastor has to be
Right.
invested.
And I will say,
And I don't know how that gets done in
the past, the way we've addressed that issue is we have had pastor to pastor conversations. We've had sessions in which pastors have all been invited to a special information session that is targeted specifically for them, how to get the message out. And here's a package for you that might include a Mother's Day event, a Christmas Eve offering, a menu of options, but ways in which we can try to get to help pastors have tools that they would find helpful for conveying this need. And also, nothing like going on a trip, but if that's something I think that's helpful, to Barb's point, maybe that's something that we could.
Because I feel like you don't have the pastor invested.
But you're right about that, and they don't want to give up sometimes that 3 minutes.
Right.
of their
Or they have something else that's a little bit
message.
closer to their
Very
heart.
familiar
Or,
with that. I understand that.
And what we find works best right now, and I presume that's the start, is when you go to the church, you get an opportunity to connect with the pastor. I mean, I've only been here for 2 months, 3 months. I find that you don't get pastors to come to you. You have to go to them. And with that, and we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity with Mohammed here to go visit a lot.
Yeah, just send me with your pastor. I'm ready.
well, then he better have the little film things. You know, he's got to have something in his hand because they're going to think he's a great guy. He walks out, and the pastor's on his next project.
Let's hear from a pastor what they think.
I'm not a pastor.
Oh, you're not.
Nice try.
It's just a mission and outreach specialist.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, you know, I will say we do a lot. I mean, it comes up quite a bit in the sermons.
And while we may not get all the time for guests, we always use our giving talk to highlight one of our mission ministries, and our new pastor is incredibly mission minded. And the lunch that we spent with you too, it made such a huge impression. I think we can we lunch like on a Wednesday, but by
Yeah.
Thursday, his e-note was about you and HCW and the CRC and the good work going on there. So you're right, that personal connection goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are connected. You are investing in it as well. It says, I mean, Alan and Patty, we have been attending this leadership together. The Harvest always say, you know, for a culture, for anything to be very good, a culture must always be as healthy as the senior leaders want it to be. So the senior leaders in this communication plan are you people and the pastors. So once the pastors are really invested, they are part of this thing, how can we take it to the next level? They have to see the passion in you. They have to see the passion in the pastor to say, oh yes. You know, you work in your organization where the boss comes in like very sluggishly, you know, he's down or she's down. That can affect you too. But you see him or her fired up and with the spirit, oh yes, I get that big, how to be on top of this situation. And you bring new ways and you are ready to suggest new ideas to HCW. They have ideas. What are the things we have been doing over the years? Can we evaluate those ideas? Do we have new ideas we need to bring up to say, you know what, if we do this, I think we'll get more people. We'll get more people to give more. If we do this, we can even extend from 16 partner churches to 20 partner churches. Every year we can grow one church. Every year we can go to another church. It not only be here, but going to some other places as well.
Patty, raise your hand. Patty, raise your hand.
Oh, good.
I'm so excited.
I just figured out how to do that, so I thought I would try it. Two really quick things, because I think we're losing people on the phone quickly.
Yeah, we're past
whoever mentioned wearing a T-shirt that says "Ask me about," a really inexpensive way to do that Alan and I do at our church is we have a name tag that says "Ask me about Sierra Leone." And then the second thing is there are millions of reasons to go to Sierra Leone and for teams to keep going. But one of them that we shouldn't forget is that if we want the Missionary Training Center to remain self-sustaining, we've got to keep sending teams.
Right. And the
Over.
beaches are gorgeous. So.
Right? You can see the other side of the Atlantic.
Yes.
But also, we just need to remember
absolutely
listen to the Holy Spirit. You know, our pastors, you know, it is intimidating sometimes to go up and talk to them and tell, you know, when you're passionate, to just, you don't want to sound dumb. You want to make sure that your wording's correct. But the thing is, when you hear that voice telling you, go talk to such and such about this, guess what? Listen to it and do it. The Holy Spirit is in us to guide us. And look at what he's done so far, you know? And like, for example, when the mudslides went on, and that wasn't even on the news here, you know, I was devastated, and I'm sure all of you were. And we were in church, and we were singing, and at the beginning of the service, I kept feeling like I needed to walk down and tell the pastor, like, hey, this happened, can we pray for it? And you know, I didn't listen at first. And then by the end, you know, I can't even remember what the sermon was about, but I was like, okay, at the end, I'm going down and I'm telling him, you know, this is what happened. And that's all it took. Like, I just walked right down while we were singing our last song and like told him, you know, what was going on. And, you know, he got up and took that extra time to announce, you know, what had happened and like how saddened his heart was and, you know, what we do, and, you know, prayed for Sierra Leone, you know, and that was an impact right there, you know. And if I would have sat there and thought like, oh, I'm dumb, you know, then it wouldn't have come out. But, you know, listen to that voice. Don't feel dumb. Just like no question's a dumb question.
Yep.
Let's listen to the Spirit.
Awesome. If there are no additional questions, yes?
If you have additional questions,
yes,
write them down, send them to me, Laura Horvath, in an email. If a question occurs to you later in the week, pick up the phone and call me. You are not going to bother anybody here at HCW. I know I speak for the entire HCW staff. If you have a question, if you have a concern, please call us, please email us anytime. You are not going to bother us. As Kathleen said, give us 24 hours to get turned around to you, but we want to hear from you, and we want to share your questions with everybody else, because if you have a question about something, 5 other people have that same question. So please communicate with us.
And you know, let's not forget that we have social media. I think that we should do a picture today and say, ask me what went on in this meeting today. That's
all right,
new.
somebody got a
Do you know
picture?
what I mean?
Somebody got a camera real quick?
But on social media.
So they can get up.
Yes, and let's do that right after we close with prayer.
Yeah.
Eternal Father, holy, 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 blessed are your names. Thank you for these amazing people that you have brought together into my life and into their lives. All of the mission that you have spread before them. Let your Holy Spirit fill us so that we have understanding of one another and how it is that we can bring your kingdom here on earth. Enlighten us and show us the path that you shine before us and give us the courage to walk on it. And let us act in your name, Father, and for your glory, and not in our own name. For these things and for the blessings of this world, we thank you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for attending, everyone. It was really a blessing to have all of you here.
Thank you for inviting us. It was a blessing to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't like late meetings.
Do we get a picture?
I'm doing a piano.
Oh,
Should we turn this off or just leave it?
thank you all so